Hello, Daniel M. You are up first, sir. Hello.
Hey Bart, how's it going?
How's it going, Daniel? Going
Going well. I,
well.
I did listen to the HCL stream. I have no idea how you kept it up that long. I
You
fell
listened to the
asleep, I
whole
confess.
you listened
No,
to the
no, no.
whole
I
stream?
I, I got a pretty late and then I caught a lot of it the next day. I have no idea how you kept the energy up for a couple days there.
Well, there was some wise ass on Twitter that said, "Oh, wow, Bart, doing a 21-hour stream, sitting on your butt and talking, real hard work. Why didn't you, try to dig a ditch or something?" And listen, I know it's not labor, but still, you got to keep the energy up and keep the
Absolutely.
enthusiasm up and pay attention to everything. But okay, so you got a hand for us here?
I do. So it's going to be Encore Las Vegas, win Encore, 2-5,
Ah,
1500 cap game,
yep,
full ring.
yep.
Some background. It was the first weekend of the WPT.
Okay, so 2-5, 1500. I heard it's just been crazy. It was crazy there during that time.
It was absolutely crazy. The only reason I mentioned is I was playing a Friday night. I had just gone to a football game, um, and so the table was very mixed. It was very loose,
Okay.
a mixture of very loose players and a lot of frustrated pros on the list for uncapped 510
Hmm.
or
Who couldn't get in because they didn't have tables or some shit like that, right?
they had didn't have dealers. I've never seen the room that busy, and I've never seen a list for 510 with 90.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
that's just some background.
Okay.
One of the players in the hand is a very good reg. I don't know his name, but I've played with him on trips before. I'm not from Vegas,
Okay.
but someone I've played with before. He's going to be the big blind. His stack size doesn't matter,
Okay.
and then we'll go through the rest. So the under the gun player limps.
Okay.
There's no straddle on this hand.
Mm-hmm.
He had been limping a lot. He's very loose, about 2,200 effective. I had gotten him all in once. It was one of my big. He'd reloaded twice since I'd gotten to the table,
Okay.
and he had one all in against me. So he limps. Under the gun plus one is about 1,500 effective. He just got in there and was eating dinner. He limps as well. It folds around to hero on the button, and I have a nine of hearts, eight of hearts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I limped as well. It just had been going around the table that way. And I kind of wanted to see what the big blind player would do, who's a very good player. Small blind folds, big blind checks behind.
All right. So small blind folds, big blind check. So the first inflection point here is you over limp two people, right, with 9-8 of hearts. Now, usually the suggestion that I give, and it's probably pretty close, I would say it's probably kind of like 2.5, I would say. So if somebody, the art of isolation, right, in live games, if there's like one limper and he's commonly limping, you can ignore it and open the same range that you would have opened as if he wasn't there. Okay. So a pretty wide range on the button. With two limpers, and then definitely three or more, I always say that I revert to a range of raising on top of these limpers as I would with like opening from early position. It's an early position open. So, 9-8 suited probably is kind of a little bit on the cusp. I probably wouldn't mind raising here on the button because it's cuspy anyways as an open from up front. It's probably mostly a fold, but I don't think it's terrible to limp behind. And I think if three people limped, I think limping behind is fine. Of course, you got to watch out for your rate considerations and your drop because in 5-5 in LA and a drop, you probably shouldn't be over limping anything unless the stacks are infinite. So I don't 9-8 suited obviously is the worst suited connector too with the way that it interacts with up bottom end ace king. But of course that's in raise pots though. This is going to be a limp pot. So we'll see it four ways here. At pots 20, right?
Yeah, pot's
Okay.
$22, whatever
Okay.
it is with the rake.
Yep.
So the flop comes ace of hearts, 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds.
Ace of hearts, 10 of hearts, 10 of diamonds. So you flop a flush draw.
Flop a flush draw,
Okay.
correct.
Uh huh.
And the action checks all the way around to me, and I check back as well.
Yeah, that one's probably pretty close here too. Um, I think maybe so. You're betting, trying to see if you can bet into three people here. Now, obviously, someone can be slow playing at 10. It's less likely that somebody has a weak ace because it is limping. I don't. This one kind of goes either way. I mean, you've got a little wraparound on the bottom here too. So this is not like 3-4 of hearts you overlimped with, right? You've got some wraparound 3 to a backdoor straight. I kind of tend to like to bet these spots if a lot of tens are not going to be check raising in a limped pot and ace X is only going to call. Because so if you go with that assumption that 10X isn't going to be doing a lot of check raising and ace X only calls, you get to manipulate the pot on the turn in position where if you check back, you're not going to see a card. And then if you bet and the response is only call, then you get to take a card or bet again when you make it. So again, it's probably pretty close into 3 people. I can maybe see sometimes check, sometimes bet. But okay, so you check.
And the position, I think, played a lot into my decision in that I was going to take the card. I would have position at the later streets and was really just looking for my flush because I sort of regretted at that point not betting the flop, or excuse me, not betting pre-flop and seeing, who I could get out earlier.
Okay.
But the turn comes, and the turn is, I thought a pretty good card for me, is the Jack of Hearts.
Okay.
So I make my flush,
Yep.
and I have an open-ended straight flush
Yep.
draw.
You've got 8, 9 of hearts on ace, 10, 10 jack with the ace and the Jack of hearts, right? Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
So under the gun, who again had been very loose,
Yep.
he bets 20.
Okay.
I almost assumed, I should say, the big blind checked.
Mhm.
At this point, I had assumed he was done.
Right.
He was just looking for whatever he had gone. I had thought maybe he would have a heart draw, but if he had hit his hearts, he would have bet.
So under the gun
under
bets
the
20.
Bets 20. Under the gun +1 calls.
Okay.
Hero raises to 85.
No problem with that. I don't really have that much of a problem with that. I think that you're going to get value from, 10X. You're going to get value from ace X. Sure, there's always the chance that somebody can have a boat or a higher flush. But, I mean, honestly, I got to tell you, like, I don't remember exactly how this one's going to set up. But there are some raise folds here if you see some crazy stuff for value. So, I definitely don't mind it. You've got a king queens in there that might stick around. I have no problem with it. I might make it a little bit larger. I might make it 100, but okay. So you go to 85.
Yep, and we might be getting exactly where you were talking about. The big blind folds.
Okay.
Under the gun re-raises to 225.
Okay.
Under the gun +1 calls.
Well, this is interesting here because there's a couple of things going on here. I mean, I would look at turn pot odds. Kind of when I had said that sometimes you can raise fold strong hands for value. And it's not that you're turning your hand into a bluff. It's that you expect to get called by worse, but if you're re-raised, you can fold. Kind of reminds me of a hand where Hands, who had a really difficult time, he had Jack 4 on a hand where Keating had King 10 of clubs, like on a Jack 9. Keating had turned the nuts with a club draw, and Hands turned jacks up, so the jack must have come on the turn. He had Jack 4. Keating led. I think it was checked around the flop, but Keating led the turn, and then he raised, Hands raised, and Keating bet 3-bet him, and he folded. And I was like, oh, that's a good raise fold for value, especially against like a guy like Keating. Now here, what's interesting is that you're going to be getting some turn pot odds here. And what I mean by that is that these guys have put in 450, you've put in 85, so you've already put in 5. It's 535 right now on the turn, plus 555, 170, right? 555, 140, excuse me, for you to call. If I'm doing the math right out here, right? 140 for you to call, 575. So you're getting 1, 2, 3.5 to 1. So you've got position here. It's really, really close. I think you could, I think you could make a case where you could just simply fold. Like that cold call in between is very, very strong. You could also call and see what develops. And on a blank, if the guy bet out again and then you've got a call, then you can just release. You know what I'm saying? It's just really interesting. The under the gun thing. Would he bet 3-bets the turn? I don't know if he's bet 3-betting with worse. And then one other thing here too. I don't know if this was a thing in these games. You always have to watch out for the under the gun limper, especially if he loves to do this, where somebody might have been going for a limp re-raise from up front, which is usually pocket aces or pocket kings. Although I would be fairly surprised if someone bet 3-bet like aces here. But who knows? Maybe jacks, something like that. But I would probably call and see what develops. But I can also get on board here with a fold as well. You also have the straight flush here too, straight flush draw.
Sure. So given that I had the straight flush redraw to the super nuts, I did wind up calling.
Okay.
Part of my logic was the pot odds. I assumed the player who was very loose. I had been punishing him, three betting him a lot for the session, and I thought maybe he would be doing this with a 10. I didn't really
You did
consider someone having
you did check back
the
the flop. You did check back the flop. So sometimes people will never put you on a flush draw. But we got to move quickly. Let's go. What's the
Sure.
river here?
The river's the three of clubs, so
All right. So
complete.
total brick, right? Okay.
And under the gun, that's 525.
Okay. And I have the pot around 695. So he bets
Yes.
525. Okay.
Yep.
Uh huh.
Under the gun plus one tank folds.
See, now I could actually see there's lots of crush live poker stuff going on. I could actually see folding now. This is almost like a Fifth Street Chicken multi-way. There's a classic, another Fifth Street Chicken spot with Haralbus versus Alan Keating when Alan Keating raised him with air with Queen Deuce of Clubs against Ace Jack. Haralbus called turn and then Keating gave up. Fifth Street Chicken means that you're making it look like you're going to call and then release when nothing changes to the bet. Man, when this guy, because remember, he bet 3-bet and he got called in 2 spots. This is so strong now. If I'm gonna call the turn, I have to be able to be prepared to fold the river, given certain action, and I think I would probably
Sure.
fold now.
And I think I got to go back to the materials because I did not fold. I did wind up calling.
So what? Remember, you've got truth serum in between here too, caller. Right? He's got the guy in between who could be sandbagging something too. You're not even heads up. That's why I think it's kind of a trivial fold.
Yeah, no, I hear that in hindsight. Trust me.
All right, so call. So you call. What's the reveal here?
You already called it. He had pocket aces, so he flopped top boat.
So he had pocket aces and he 3-bet the turn. Wow, that's really surprising that someone would fast play it like that. Although I will say, I really don't mind the play by him when you look at the nature of the hand and the board distribution, because you check back the flop and you're raising the turn, right? So what are you going to have if he has aces full here? You probably have either a flush or very likely to be some sort of boat, maybe like a jack 10. I mean, you'd probably be doing a lot of that betting off, but I actually don't mind his play given the fact that you're probably not going to be bluffing here all that much. And he's building a pot out from out of position. It's actually not a bad play. So
When I wrote the hand down to submit it, I reflected on it, and he played this really well, and I think I had an opportunity to get away from it on the turn. Maybe with the straight flush draw, I didn't need to, but looking back, I realized some of that's hindsight and Monday morning quarterbacking. But
right. By the way, I don't
the
think there's
river,
no they don't have bad beat jackpots in Vegas, do they?
they do not in any of the casinos I play in.
Sometimes there's bad beat jackpots where if you hit a straight flush, it can be really big if you beat aces full. But how are you going to know the guy has aces full, right? How are you going to know he has aces full? Anyways, appreciate the call.
Thank you.
Tricky little spot.